What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We are super glad to have you here with us today. We're gonna do a little unboxing, but before that, I just want to say thank you for checking out the video. Thank you, if you have not already, for liking this video, for subscribing, and ringing the notification bell so you can see when we post the next video. I also want to say before I get into this, we do have our new podcast, the Aggressively Average Angler Podcast. Every single Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, we go live on YouTube and we record an awesome podcast. We have awesome guests from every corner of the industry. We talk about tips, tricks, and really the whole podcast is about learning together. We tackle techniques and tactics that we are not experts in. We bring folks in who are super good. We do research on our own. We discuss things with folks like you who are better at fishing these techniques than we are, so we can all get better together. So come check us out. Again, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern. Now, if you saw the title of this video, you probably already know we are talking about this month's Monster Bass box. This is the rebranded Platinum box. Still has all the great features of all the previous boxes, but it is now called the Platinum box. I'm not just gonna open this one up for you, show you what's inside. What I'm gonna do is, for every single bait that's in here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you a tip or a trick, one that you probably have not heard of before or seen before, or I'm gonna give you sort of like a lesson, a speed lesson on how to fish each one of these lures. I think it's really important, and we'll start this off. Actually, I already know what's gonna be in here, and that's gonna be the guidebook. I just wanna call out the guidebook is extremely helpful, and I just wanna call out like a specific example. I know this seems like one of the things we talk about all the time, but this is one of my favorite innovations. One of the things I think that Monster Bass has taken a lot of time to do really well, and that's the guidebook. So if you look right here, they're talking about the Fat Baby Finesse. I'm giving one away. I'll start there. But they talk about everything from where to fish it, and they talk about, in this case, humps, ledges, open water points, rocks, docks, riprap. Good calls. And then they show you maybe where some places where it's not going to fish the best. They also talk about gear suggestions, which I really like. So they're talking about what kind of rod you should use, what kind of line you should use. In this case, they're suggesting a 7-foot medium action spinning rod, 10-pound fluoro, leader to a 20-pound mainline braid. I like that. And then they say a 2500. Obviously, all the stuff is preference. It's kind of like the baseline, like here's like the middle of the road. But this is still, again, if you're a new angler, if you're new to this technique, in this case, I'll show you what one they're talking about here. This really is helpful. I wish I had this when I got started fishing. And with guys like Debo's Fishing giving you tips and tricks, you know it's gonna be good stuff. So you get the guidebook. Let's get into the baits. So right off the bat, you're getting the KVD, well, technically it's Strike King, but the KVD branded, his Perfect Plastics. They got the coffee scent, all of these do, but this is the Fat Baby Finesse. This one comes in, I forget what it's called, Green Pumpkin Sapphire. It's not a swirl, it's not like a green pumpkin swirl, but it's the next best thing. I will say, as I'm opening this bag, this is one of my favorite finesse worms. I have some really cool catches, some really like awesome moments using this worm specifically. And it is one of my favorites. I've actually bought some of these from the folks at Monster Bass because they have great deals on them. So this is your worm. If you haven't seen this one, I think it's a 5-inch worm. It is a 5-inch worm. It's got a flat bottom. So the bottom here actually is flat. This whole section right here is flat, and then it's rounded on top. It's a little bit thicker than your standard finesse, or like a trick worm is sometimes called. It also has this spot here at the back. So this is like sort of the bubble butt, but if you turn it upside down, you can see there's this little indentation, like a scoop down there. And what that does is that actually grabs water. So depending on how you rig this, as long as this part is facing down, that little scoop is facing down, this gives it a little more action than just like moving the worm around. That, especially on the fall, I find is when this worm, let's see if we can get, I find this especially helpful on the fall. But yeah, you can see a little scoop there in the back. So let's look at those colors. We talked about the sapphire, so you can see the blue kind of sparkle inside there, that green pumpkin, and there's some black in there too. The one thing I want to mention about, another thing I want to mention about this bait, black. A lot of people think that why is black inserted into this? The black, larger like specks or glitter or whatever you want to call it, it's actually giving depth to the bait. So you get like that 3D look to this bait instead of just like sort of an amorphous blob of green pumpkin. Black's giving it that depth. Blue is giving it something for the light to work with. So that's where the that sapphire comes in, that green pumpkin sapphire comes in. Now I told you I was going to give you a tip with every single one of these baits or tell you something about this bait. The tip that I want to give you is, not only is this a great way to fish what they gave you in the box, which I will show you in a second, my favorite way to fish this is actually on a shaky head. This is a killer shaky head bait. I find that those stand-up shaky heads that really keep this like vertical presentation take the best advantage of that little scoop that's inside that tail there at the end. It is a wonderful way to fish. I've enticed fish that are a couple of feet from me using this tactic. So even spooky fish I've been able to catch using the shaky head. So the Niko rig is sort of what this box is all about. We'll get there in a second, but I will tell you the shaky head is a killer way to fish this. So let's keep going with the soft plastics. The next one is one of my favorite brands of plastic manufacturers, and that is X-Zone. They make some killer plastics. I've got some gigantic smallmouth and a couple of their baits, and all their craws are really, really solid. The muscle back finesse craw might be like the thing that got me messing around with like ultralight or smaller craws just in general. I really love that design. I've got some sweet fish on it. This one is no exception. This is the True Center stick. It's a 5-inch one and 8-pack, not bad. Watermelon candy. I don't know what colors y'all are gonna get, but all the colors really, I think X-Zone does a really wonderful job. They came out with like an ink black that I think is like one of the best black color baits out on the market. Their bubblegum is killer, but they make a lot of really great colors. So let's get a close up on this worm. Now, why do they call this the True Center? It's a measured center. They really wanna make sure that you know that when you see this part of the worm right there, you know that you are hitting the dead center. And that's because this really is a wacky rigged worm. It was designed to be wacky rigged, and that's why it's called the True Center. So you know exactly where to put that hook and you know you're right in the middle. No questions asked. It's just you already know you're going to be in the right spot. So there it is. Look at that color. It is outstanding. It's very dense. I find this to be I have a couple of craws that are in this pattern, and the reason is there's no bad time to break this color out. It's bright enough with all the like the purples and the greens inside of there, that glitter in there, where it's going to work pretty well in light water. It also works really well in dark stained water because it is a darker profile and it's green pumpkin. I mean, there's really no bad time to throw this. So no time better than any other time, but there's also no wrong time. So that's my tip for you, is don't be afraid to break them out. Now what you're getting inside of this is pretty cool. I didn't even know that Monster Bass made these, but they do have a wacky rig tool in here. I'll show you how this works in a second, but they also give you some Mustad Niko / wacky rigged hooks. I'm going to show you the Niko rig. I think a lot of you folks before have probably seen the wacky rig before, but I'm going to show you the Niko. And what makes this like a wacky / Niko deal here. So we're going to open this up and let's show you how this tool works. If you haven't seen one of these before, what you're getting is a hollow tube. So I'm going to drop it right on the floor. Just kidding. There's your Monster Bass logo, but it's actually a hollow tube. So there's nothing inside here. Wait. So it is hollow, it's super light, there's nothing to it. And then on the front, you're gonna see a screw. If I can get the camera to work with me here, you're gonna see a Phillips head screw, and then you're gonna see all of these rings right here. Now these don't look like normal wacky rings, and you can tell because they have these interesting, funky looking circles on top. So we're gonna do those in a second. But as an example, the first thing I'm gonna do is put my worm down. I'm actually gonna take the bottom one right here, the bottom of the rings right there, and I'm gonna scooch it all the way to the bottom. So let's go ahead and do that. Now these are a little bit stretchy, and so you can see I'm just gonna work it all the way till it's right there, almost at the end, right? So I got it there where it's almost at the end. Don't get it too close, you'll pop it off, I promise you, and then you're gonna be ticked off. Fixable, but you'll be ticked. Then you're gonna take your wacky worm right there. So I got my center stick worm, and I'm gonna put it in backwards here. I'm gonna plop it in backwards. Now you could work it here, and you could just, and what you're gonna do is just slide it onto your bait. Now, it's a True Center stick. I know where the center is, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull my, I'm gonna get out of the way of the camera here. I'm gonna pull my worm out right into where I want it. So instead of just sliding it off and then having to work it, I'm gonna find my spot. There's the True Center. See that fat, smooth part right there? Kind of like the heart or whatever, the earthworm. I'm just gonna slide this right in there. And now I'm done. I got it right where I wanted it, right in the middle of that spot, and I am good to go. So handy little tool. You can definitely reload these by unscrewing this, or you can just slide them on. Either way, it's gonna work great, but nifty tool. Now I'm gonna grab my Mustad hooks. Got this little guy right here, and all I'm gonna do is stick the hook right through it, and you got a gorgeous looking wacky rig. Perfecto, ready to roll. Here's your tip for the Niko. VMC actually makes a specific pair of pliers for throwing on a Niko rig. These things are pretty handy dandy. They also don't weigh very much, but the cool thing about these right here, if you look carefully, there's two little compartments, one on either side, and it's actually holding if I can do this without spilling them all. Look at that. It's actually holding a bunch of Niko rings, which are crazily a lot like the rings that you just had, except the orientation of that little extra piece is like made for a Niko rig. So you'll see how these are actually perpendicular. They're actually perpendicular. They're facing the opposite direction as the ring. These ones are facing, the holes, the little extra hole is actually facing the same direction as the ring. I'll show you why that matters right now. There you go. So when I squeeze the pliers, it's actually opening up that, there we go, let's get in there. So when I squeeze the pliers, it's actually opening that up. So now that I've got it opened, all I gotta do is slide my worm. This is so awkward to say. I should go backwards, it'll be a little bit easier. All I gotta do is slide that guy right into there, get it into position, and just like that, shazam, ah, we're in, right where we wanna be. All I'm gonna do is stick my hook through the same deal, just like that, and voila, I have a Niko rig. All I'm missing is a weight. Oh, but wait a second. I think I got one of those in this here box. Check this out. It also comes with some Niko weights. Now these are like little nail weights. And why do they call them nail weights? Well, because you could use just a nail. So let's bust one of these open. These are tungsten. I don't really think these make any difference whether they're tungsten or not. These ones are pretty light. I think they're 1/8 of an ounce. Oh, they're 1/16 of an ounce. So they are on the lighter side. But they're these cool little spikes. They definitely look cooler than heck. Check those out. And that spike is gonna go right through the bottom, through the nose, into the nose of your bait. So I'm gonna get out of the way here again. What I'm gonna do is take that spike, I'm gonna drive it as straight as possible right into the worm. Voila, now here's your tip. I'm gonna leave the very bottom of this actually facing out. I don't wanna totally hide that thing because I want that weight making bottom contact, not the worm making bottom contact. So what you're gonna have here is, let's pretend this is the floor of the bottom, and I got my tie in here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hop this. Obviously the tail is gonna be up because it's in the water, but I'm gonna hop this along the bottom. That is the Niko rig in essence. It's a wonderful way to get really, really funky looking action, like a sideways or like a vertical wacky rig on bottom. Heckin' cool. All right, so that is it for the plastics and the technique on the plastics. So now we're gonna talk about hard baits. There are a couple in this box and they are beautiful. This one I have never held in my entire life. I don't really know anything about it. This is the Lunker Candy Sugar Daddy 6 because it goes down 4 to 6 feet, I am assuming. I'm gonna take it out of the package. This is the most insane paint job that I've seen in a hot minute. Bust this bad boy out and let's take a look. Yeah, that is completely nuts. Check that out. If that's not eye-catching, I don't really know what is. I like that the tail is like that hot shot, like orange kind of color. It's pretty dope. I think the hooks are a little small. My tip for you on this one is going to be replace these hooks. I would go a size up. These looks like maybe a 6. I would go to a 4. I'll tell you right now, if you don't have, holy, wait a minute. Just the ball bearing just shifted on this. Oh, it's like almost like a 1 knock. It is. It's really loud. You're doing yourself a disservice if you're not carrying 2 kinds of hard baits, maybe 3. I'll say 3 kinds of hard baits when the water gets really, really cold. This is like the winter transition. This is what, the December box? No, this is the November box. For a lot of the country, you're just getting into like almost winter. If you're my part of the country, I'm actually putting my boat away this week because we are in winter. It's 30 degrees out, 28 degrees out right now. We've had like ice on the pavement and I've had to shovel twice already. That's where Michigan's at. The rest of the country, you guys are dealing with some colder weather. We're talking like sub 60 degree, 50 degree water. That's cold. These fish are going to be feeding up though. So if you're doing yourself a disservice, if you're not carrying 3 kinds of hard baits, this would be one of them, a deep diving crankbait. Now this isn't super deep. I'd really like to see maybe a 10-footer, but it's a deeper diving crankbait. And when these fish are gonna be feeding up, and they're feeding up specifically on high protein meals, that includes bait fish. So you want bait fish mimicking patterns. This would be, well, this is at least the type of bait fish mimicking deal as far as a silhouette. Color-wise, I don't know what the hell they think they're eating, but they're getting after that, hopefully. No promises on this one. Again, my tip for you on that one is upgrade those hooks. I like to see a little bit bigger size hook, especially on these. Hopefully it still runs the way as intended, but typically I would rather have fish catching ability, bigger hook, bigger chance of getting bit. I'm getting after it. Now this next bait, it's not my favorite in the box. That one's next, that one is last. But this is a freaking awesome bait. This is not one you will see in a giveaway. This is going right into my tackle box. This is the 13 Fishing Flat Daddy 65. I'm assuming this is a 6.5 foot diver. It is a 2.5 inch, 1/2 ounce, number 4 hook. Just like I said on the other one, number 4 hook. It is a floating crankbait, goes down 3 to 6 feet. I didn't realize this was a floater. Dude, a flat side crankbait. A jerkbait is one of the other. I told you there were 3. A jerkbait is one of those baits that I would have said that you have to have with you. So deep diving crankbait, a jerkbait, and I would say a lipless. This is like a combination of 2 of those baits, a deep diving crankbait and a lipless. Why is it called? Look at the friggin' body on that thing. It's so skinny, unbelievable. So that's that flat sided, super tight wobble, which is what you want in cold water conditions. But look at the friggin' paint job. Oh my good Lord. Matte colored. This thing friggin' looks like it came like out of, it looks like a Halo bullet. That's what I would say. This is a Halo bullet right here. Friggin' sweet. The one thing about this bait, and all 13 fishing baits really, they're super high quality and they're super sturdy. This is gonna be one of the sturdiest baits you're gonna get your hands on, I promise you, no question. This thing is built rock solid. One of the ways you can usually tell, other than the thickness of the plastic, which is intense, see how that bill is reinforced at the bottom? This thing was meant to just be blasting stuff. Look at that, there's like a little bridge underneath the bill right there. This thing is reinforced, it's ready for battle. I love the color, it's really muted. A lot of times in the fall and the spring, you see guys use these bright colors. One of my favorite baits that's coming out of this box right here is a bright color, but this is a nice alternative. It's a really natural color with a little, just enough brightness there at the bottom for any fish looking up. It is pretty loud, but it's not like that other one, the Vicious was like a 1 knock. I think this one has, and you can see through it, because it is kind of translucent. There are 4 ball bearings, 2 of them are loose, and 2 of them are fixed for casting. It's a freaking gorgeous bait. Leave it to 13 Fishing to make an absolute gem. I love this bait. This is mine now. The other cool thing about this one, 3 to 6 feet written right on the bill. Everyone should do that. This is a no-brainer. Everybody should do that. All right, y'all, last and certainly not least, we have the Thunderhawk Sergeant. This is a lipless. This is a perfect bait for that like fall to winter transition. Probably the last bait that you're going to catch a fish on, if I'm being honest. The one, maybe a jerk bait. Maybe a jerk bait would be the one, the last thing you'd catch a fish on the season. But this one is probably going to be right there in contention. Again, of the 3 baits, this is one of the ones I recommend that everyone has all up into the late part of the season before it actually becomes winter, and maybe you're putting the boat away because you're chipping away ice. 2.5 inch, 1/2 ounce with number 4 hooks again. So here is the Sergeant. This is like a really like classic spring color for me. Darker orange, a little bit of red. Now the camera's not picking up on it totally, but on the back, like right here, that's not the light playing tricks on you. There's a translucent, like purpley, like an opaque kind of paint see-through there. That is actually intentional. It is really cool looking. You see right there, it's almost like blue. That runs, it's like an iridescent, runs all along the top. This is one of the coolest paint jobs I've seen in a long time. This bait right here, you can see, has like a section right here that's almost like indented, kind of carved out. You can kind of see when the light hits it right there. The shape of this body and the way the line tie is, this bait is going to run like this, nose down, tail up, shaking side to side, running this way. This is a decent one for bumping some stumps. It's not the best one I've ever fished, but it's more like a medium, but this one will definitely bump some stumps. This one vibrates very well on the fall. As this one falls, it's got this awesome like lull, like side to side, and you get this like really muted. It's not very loud. I'll tell you right now, for the fall and especially early in the spring, I like a silent or something more silent. This one is definitely on the quieter side. This is going to be different than almost any other lipless you have in your arsenal, I can promise you. The other thing that I'll call out, and this was called out in the guidebook as well, and I'll try and do this for you. I'll get my face out of the way. We'll do it some justice. This bait right here, you'll notice I'm holding the treble. It actually has rotating trebles, tie-ins. So you can actually spin these around. And actually, they both do. Check that out. Now, I didn't realize this, but that is for fish fighting power. That gives the fish one little bit less piece of leverage. So when it twists its body sideways or does like a 360, it's not like getting leverage by the hook getting jammed to the side of the bait. So it's taking away one more piece of leverage to help you catch more fish. I freaking love that. Premium components, beautiful baits. And the last thing I'll say about Thunderhawk, and the reason this is one of my favorites, is I think the guys at Thunderhawk do a wonderful job designing really well thought out baits and giving them to you at an affordable price. The Cha-Cha Glide is a really inexpensive, like definitely sub 50, like sub $30 glide bait, and it runs like a much more expensive glide bait. It is wonderfully designed. Jerry Rago helped him do it, and it is just outstanding. It's just another example of a bait like of a brand like Thunderhawk that I never would have heard of if I didn't get a Monster Bass box. And now that I've heard of them, I can't get them out of my mind. Again, I'm purchasing these on my own and then getting refilled by Monster Bass. So thanks, guys. Appreciate you. All right, we're gonna run through these again in reverse order. You're getting the Thunderhawk Lipless, love that bait. Definitely probably the one that's going to catch you fish late in the season. You're getting the 13 Fishing Flat-Sided, the Blatty Daddy. Beautiful, just the highest quality bait, probably arguably in the box. You are getting the Lunker Candy Sugar Daddy 6 with that insane paint job. Again, I recommend upsizing those hooks, but they look okay. I might still go one size up, but these are, I don't know, man. You gotta have a deep diver for late in the fall. You gotta have it. Then you're getting some terminal. You're getting the Mustad Niko and or wacky rigged hooks. You are also getting the Monster Bass branded tungsten Niko weights, the nail weights. Are they calling these nail weights? They are calling them nail weights. They should call them like spike weights or something, like more aggressive. But yeah, super cool that they have those. I didn't even realize they were part of the deal here. Then you're getting the wacky rig tool, and you certainly could use this as a Niko rig tool. It just depends on what kind of rings you have on here, but they stacked them up. It looks like there's 10 of them on here maybe. That's pretty dope. And then you are getting a couple of different plastics. You are getting the X-Zone center stick. This one 5-incher. This one came in watermelon candy. And then you got one of my favorite finesse worms. This is the Fat Baby Finesse from Strike King, from the King KVD himself. So that is what's in the box. Those are some tips for you and some things maybe you didn't know about some of those baits. And again, you get the guidebook with all that too. And this is gonna explain pretty much everything that I did on this video. I just wanna say thank you so much again for being here with us tonight. Thanks for checking out this video. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, notification bell, all that stuff. Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern for the Aggressively Average Angler podcast. If you want to learn some things along with us, and really honestly, if you guys haven't already, go check out Monster Bass. They've got a ton of creators doing really cool videos on these baits just like this, giving you tips, tricks. Mikey Balls did one on flat-sided. I was going to make a video on flat-sided, and I postponed mine when I saw his because his was awesome. Go check that one out. And again, hope you guys get this box. If you haven't already, go check it out. You can use our code down below. And you know what? I hope you guys have an awesome time. Good luck fishing this winter, and we'll catch you on the next video.